Hey everyone, welcome to week 31. This is day one. And for this week, our theme is going to be a kind of subtle one, but I think a very beautiful one. It's going to be about presence. So let's see how we do. Okay, let's get started. So today we are starting with a new theme. I thought it'd be cool if we concentrate on something that has been very interesting to me, even though the origin of why it's interesting to me is quite somber. I've always thought it's one of the most beautiful things that I've seen in paintings or in art. And what we're going to talk about is presence. My interest in this particular theme was not a happy memory, I would say, because I started reflecting upon presence right after my father had passed away. And the way I realized that this was something that was very, very powerful to me was how the absence of my father had left an imprint in my house. And the first time I noticed that there was something physical about him not being there was when I saw my mother's bed, their bed. It was unmade, but only half of it was unmade because my father's side remained untouched. So that to me was huge. This bed that I was always accustomed to seeing equally unmade was now almost separated by this frontier, this invisible frontier that you could probably cut the bed right in half and you could speak about presence and absence. And that to me was something, like I said, incredibly powerful. And it got me to thinking, even when we're not here, we leave traces behind. And us not being here or not being in a specific place doesn't mean that we have to be gone, doesn't mean that we have to have had passed away, but it means that at that moment we are not present. I think that has been something that I've kept in my mind for the past 5 years, I guess. And even though I did some paintings of my parents' bed, I always thought that there must be a way for me to try and approach this that doesn't feel like it weighs emotionally so heavily on me. And I thought that this week would be a great moment to do this exercise. So we are going to reflect on presence, but we're going to try to define it again, not as something that can be so deeply touching as what I just described, but something that can be far more mundane and that we see in everyday life. When I reflected upon it, I realized that what I was looking for is an effect that we have through the actions that we take. So whatever is the object of our attention has to in some way insinuate that there was an action that took place. And that could mean so many things. But that action that took place created an effect, but it also left traces, sort of visual clues that we can follow and we can say, yeah, someone was here and they did something, and this is the effect of that something. This is the result of that action. And when I realized, okay, that's a far more manageable way of dealing with this idea of presence, I started looking around at things and at moments in nature that would echo that idea. So for this first one, I thought I would do a mound of dirt, which I can only suppose it is a shoveled mound of dirt. I used to take my son, Samu, every Saturday to football practice in school. Samu goes to the same school I went to, which is the same school my brother went to, too. So obviously, I have a very deep attachment to that school. I actually love my school. My school is a very, very weird thing. And I say my school. Here in Bogota, we usually don't have grade school, middle school, high school. We just have one school where we go to for 12 years. So this school I attended for 12 years, and hopefully Samu will do the same. If you're there for 12 years, that's where you meet probably your lifelong friends. And people that I would consider my friends are the people that I met at that moment in my life. People that I still consider my friends are my friends from school. So I was there for 12 years, and what's so funny is that I graduated in 95, I guess, school, and my son was born 2007, but he started school, I guess, at 7. So 2014, so he's been in school for 6 years. Yep, that kind of checks. And he's going to start his 7th year. He's going to be in 7th grade this year. I'm saying all of this because I graduated in 95 and I went back to that school to see if Samu could study there. And the school remained the same. It was as if it was frozen in time. The one thing that my school has, which is an amazing thing I always thought, is just, fields. It's just grass, a bunch of grass that you can run, you can play football. What we really have in that school, because the classrooms are like, I don't know, they're nothing. I think the same desks that I used when I was 7 are the exact same desks that kids are using nowadays when they enter school. So nothing has changed. And the one thing that has remained are these, huge fields where we would play football. And like I said, I would take Samu Saturdays to football practice. And, just walking around, I remember I saw this, and it was just this mound of dirt, just dirt. And I couldn't really tell what hole they had dug and taken this dirt out of. I had no idea where it came from. I kind of looked around, and to me, it was this absolute mystery. It was just this big mound of dirt that was just there, and it seemed to have like no purpose. And I imagined, well, somebody's shoveling dirt and putting it in this mound, and eventually you have to haul it somewhere else. But there seemed to be, and this is, I guess, the most interesting part of all of this, there seemed to be a present, time-wise, where I was contemplating and reflecting on this big mound of dirt, of earth, and there seemed to be a past where this stranger to me had been shoveling dirt from somewhere, maybe digging up a hole or clearing up something, and then creating this mound. And it seemed to point towards a future where somebody had to haul that dirt somewhere. They had to either fill up that hole or just take that dirt somewhere else, and that was it. So at that moment, I was reflecting upon this act that was 3 moments in time at the same time. And I thought that was amazing. And I know it's kind of ridiculous because it is just a pile of dirt. It is a pile of earth, and that's about it. It's just that. But in my mind, I was able to associate it with time. Because I thought about it in that sense, I really felt that this was a beautiful image when reflecting upon presence. Because even though it is dirt, even though it is a mound of dirt, which is basically like a small mountain, if you think about it, even though it echoes its natural state and it has this natural quality, it is a human artifice. It is a human being that has recreated this echo of nature with this little mountain of dirt. There is an artificial quality to it. There is a disposition that is artificial. It's almost like a man-made rearrangement of nature. And I thought that was amazing because, if you just walk by, you just see dirt. You just see reorganized dirt. It's the same dirt that you're stepping on, but it's just organized now in like a small mound. And you don't think about it twice. You just think, yeah, it's digging up a hole, they're going to cover it up later. That's about it. But to me, it was this idea of somebody leaving this imprint behind, leaving this trace of their action behind. And I thought that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I mean, aside from the aesthetic qualities of this mount, this reddish, brownish mass of color that was surrounded by this greenness under direct sunlight, I thought that was absolutely gorgeous. And when I thought about it, when I saw myself kind of contemplating, because I must have looked like an idiot contemplating this mound of dirt, I completely felt like Friedrich's painting of Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. This very, very famous painting. Friedrich was a late 18th, early mid-19th century German romantic painter. And he delved into that dichotomy of trying to put the idea of divine nature against human civilization. He tried to pair those two together in his paintings. And I felt like that. I felt like I was contemplating this moment of nature, but in a different manner, because the Sea of Fog depicts a human being that's contemplating the vastness of the divinity of nature, the majestic quality of nature. Well, I was just seeing this very artificially created little mound of earth. But I started thinking about the very romantic sense of landscape painting. And this is how my mind went. Like, I thought about, obviously, his Wanderer painting. And then I thought of the Sea of Ice painting, which I still think is one of the most beautiful landscape paintings in the history of painting. Which actually depicts a shipwreck. But the shipwreck part is such a tiny part of the painting that people sometimes are not very aware. It had to have like a very tragic undertone. The person that actually commissioned the painting was speaking about the northern pole. So it had to be very, very dramatic, and it couldn't just be nature. Again, it had to be the effect of nature on humanity, on human beings, on civilization. So that's why there's a shipwreck there. But when you look at that painting, this sea of ice just takes center stage, and it's completely overpowering. And I guess that's the whole idea, to see ourselves as absolutely minuscule when we compare ourselves to nature. I thought about that painting. I thought about the sea of ice painting. I obviously thought of Frederick Church's paintings. Now, Frederick Church was an American landscape painter. His teacher was Thomas Cole. He was from the second generation of the Hudson River School of painters. To me, he's the greatest of the Hudson River School. He's my favorite, at least. Frederick Church was also one of these painters that was very, very interested in just traveling to these sort of unexplored places. So to me, he's quite relevant because he actually came to Colombia, and he painted a fall that is near Bogota, which is the Tequendama Fall, the Salto del Tequendama, which today, this is a very sad thing, but it's just riddled with pollution. I'm going to ask Danny to show you some of the studies and the painting that he did of the Salto del Tequendama. Today, we don't have an idea of how incredibly majestic, again, and divine in that sense this fall was in the 1850s, because that's around the time when he painted it. My mind immediately went to Frederick Church, again, because the fact that he was here and all throughout South America just doing these ridiculously amazing paintings. He also did a series of iceberg paintings. Now, they're not quite the same as the Sea of Ice, but Church's paintings of icebergs are also just absolutely incredible. I mean, they are something else. I'll show you his most famous, largest iceberg painting right now. And it is ridiculous. I was reading about Church. George Sheldon, which was an art critic at the time, said that his painting lacked the poetry, the aroma of art. Look at this painting. I have no idea what that critic was referring to. Who knows? But anyways, even though this iceberg painting is just ridiculous, I mean, it's insane how good it is. I actually absolutely adore the studies he did of icebergs. Now, you could say, of course, you would love the studies. That's all you talk about, sketches, studies. And yes, I'm sorry, like I acknowledge those bigger paintings. I mean, I've seen Church's more elaborate, larger paintings, and they are just gorgeous. They are some of the most beautiful paintings ever painted. Period. Period. I'm not going to fight about that. That is just a truth. He was a genius. They're amazing. Just a gift from nature. But if you ask me, my sensibility, like I am just deeply, deeply attracted to his studies and his sketches and his quicker paintings. And some of these paintings, some of these studies are just delicious. They are absolutely delicious. So it was very, very nice that in my mind, and if you want, kind of take this trip with me and travel with me, imagine me Saturday football training. I take my son, he's training. I'm just walking around with Fer. I see this mound of dirt, and I'm probably for 5 minutes looking at it like an idiot. And because I'm looking at it like an idiot, completely abstracted from everything that's around me, I realized, oh my God, somebody looking at me must see me as this wanderer painting. You know, I kind of laugh to myself and say, oh yeah, that's probably right. I'm contemplating nature. But then I tell myself, but it's not nature. You know, this is man-made. This is a rearrangement of nature. This is very artificial. This is human artifice. And let's come back to my little studio space where I'm painting. And now I'm painting this and I'm saying, well, I thought about his Sea of Ice. Then I thought about the iceberg paintings of Church. And then I thought of the connection he has with Bogota. And then I thought of what I love about Church. What I love most about Church in terms of his images are these little studies. And I said, you know, if I could charge all that energy that Church was able to almost devour from nature when he was looking at these wonderful sights, if I could just put some of that divine quality into this little man-made mound of dirt, that would be awesome. And that was today's painting. I find it incredible how I understand painting as my companion. I never see it as a job. I never see it as something that I just do. The way I view painting, the way I understand the world, is completely linked to painting, which means that I am in direct conversation always, a direct conversation with painters throughout history. And I loved that I could have this conversation with them while I was contemplating presence, while I was thinking of perhaps my own presence while I was watching this piece of dirt, and presence as this action that had taken place, which I was seeing the result of, and that was probably going to mutate and transform into something else in the near future, where that mound of dirt was going to be transported somewhere else. Earth going back to Earth, filling up a hole, or Earth being transported somewhere else where this truck would dispose of this Earth, putting Earth on another bit of Earth. Earth taken away from Earth and then being brought back to Earth. And I thought that that was amazing. And just contemplating that action was really, really cool. So even though the nature of the things that I'm looking at is completely different from these artist adventurers that were seeking the unknown and just painting this divine quality of nature, I was, yes, conscious of the enormity of nature, but I was also very aware of this tiny little human action that had taken place. And that's what I wanted to reflect upon. So I guess today is kind of defined as presence as the effect of an act in time. And I thought that was very, very cool. I know that without this commentary, if I just showed the painting, it would just be a mound of dirt. And that's it. But I think that nowadays I'm very conscious of how this project also involves me trying to communicate what my mind is going through when I'm painting something. And I think that that's part of the makeup of the painting. They are kind of intrinsically tied. So this week is going to be about that, about presence. Tomorrow, brush up on your Spanish. It's Spanish Tuesdays. So for tomorrow, we'll see where else we can find tiny little echoes. Remember, we're not looking for something as emotionally draining as me thinking about my father's absence. I mean, you could do that. That could have also been our aim for this week. But we're going to try to find it in the smaller things. And we'll see how we do tomorrow. So thank you guys for hanging out. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.